This is Under Review. I'm Jordan Long. There's still lockout in Major League Baseball, and I'm not sure exactly what the issues are with Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association. At any rate, the lockout is still in place, and they've canceled the first two series of the Major League Baseball season. Now, for the Colorado Rockies, this may not be a bad thing because in April and May, you're going to have snowy and cold games. So the fact of the matter is, the longer that this lockout lasts, it's actually okay for Colorado because of the weather. As of right now, assuming there's a deal in place, the season could start on April 8th. Once a deal is struck, and then Major League Baseball free agency will resume again. Now there are rumblings who the Rockies could sign. One is Kyle Schwarber, who could be placed at first base. Now he's played the position 98 games, not a whole lot, but 4 errors. Now the Rockies have a first baseman in CJ Cron, who has played in Major League Baseball for 6 seasons, and he's been a first baseman for the Detroit Tigers, Los Angeles Angels, and the Rockies. In fact, last year, he was placed at 130 games at first base. He had 10 errors. Now, Cron should be the first baseman, but Schwarber would add depth. Schwarber can also play the outfield, mostly as a left fielder. The Rockies could shift Ramel Tapia to center if that's the case. The reason why the Rockies could want Schwarber, well, it's easy. It's his offense. His batting average was .237 with 153 home runs. That is his career batting average. He may not hit with power, but he's able to actually drive the ball in the gap for doubles and triples to score his teammates. Now, Schwarber totaled 90 doubles and 8 triples with 355 RBIs. So offensively, he could help. Now, I'm just not sure he wants to be on a team that is rebuilding. Colorado may not make the playoffs this season whenever it starts. The money could be another issue. He may look for a team that can make the postseason. Another name for the Rockies who they might be interested in is outfielder Michael Conforto. Conforto is a veteran outfielder. He can play right fielder, but he can play all positions. Last year, he appeared in 117 games for the New York Mets at right field with 5 errors. Now, if the Rockies were going to go out and get Michael Conforto, they already have a right fielder in Charlie Blackmon. You could move Charlie to left, though. He has been there before. What could Michael Conforto bring to the offense? Well, his career batting average is .255 with 132 home runs, 141 doubles, 4 triples, and 396 RBIs. Now, either Kyle Schwarber or Michael Conforto seems like a boost to the offense. Now, when the season starts, the Rockies know the offense has to boost them. Sure, Michael Conforto and Kyle Schwarber would be an upgrade, but if you look at the offense last year, it wasn't very good for Colorado. In fact, this team hit .249, 8th in Major League Baseball. The Rockies as a team struggled to hit home runs, and I don't understand why, because Coors Field is a hitter's ballpark. They smacked 182, 21st in Major League Baseball. Michael Conforto and Kyle Schwarber would be a boost to that. The Rockies, of course, can't do anything until the lockout is lifted. For me, I'm not sure Major League Baseball will return in April or May. For me, if there's no baseball by June, that's when I'm going to be very upset. Why? During the month of June, the NBA Finals and NHL Stanley Cup Finals take place. They're actually done by the middle of June. Major League Baseball has 2 months before the NFL regular season starts. Of course, most training camps open in late July with preseason games in August. Regular season games happen in September. That's for the NFL. Baseball, for me, is a way to watch a sporting event until football season. The thing is, though, the lockout needs to end somehow. Major League Baseball or MLBPA, Major League Baseball Players Association, has to agree on something. Baseball might have lost some baseball fans, but that is not the case for the Colorado Rockies. Why? Well, what is there to do on a summer night to get your sports fix in? in the Mile High City. Sure, you could go to a Rapid soccer game, but going to a baseball game seems like the spot in Lodo, lower downtown. Plus, it's like a giant party at Coors Field. The Rockies have done a great job with the fan experience, but the fact is the field is so beautiful, especially with the mountains in the background of Coors. Coors. There's really nothing better than going to a Rockies game during the season. Let's face the facts, though. The lockout is really hurting the vendors in these ballparks. Who knows when they will be able to return to their job? The vendors are losing money. Spring training is really the best for people to go watch a baseball game for cheap, either in Florida. I'm talking about cheap. I'm talking about lower prices than an actual Major League Baseball game. You can see them in Florida and Arizona. Spectators not only get to see star players, but athletes in the system. Some of the players in the system even make the opening day roster. The spring training venues in Florida and Arizona won't have that revenue for their cities. They have volunteers whose job is to help these stadiums. The restaurants in and around the spring training areas rely on that. People plan vacations to see them in Florida or Arizona, and there is hotel and rental car revenue that these cities lose, which helps their economy. For now, though, Major League Baseball is at a standstill for everything. They have stopped talks, and there's no word on when they are going to meet again. Both sides want to get a deal done, but they want one that is fair. No matter what happens, the season will happen. Whether that'll be in May or June, we have no idea. Once it resumes, the off-season will continue. The Rockies will have to look to upgrade their team. Colorado will once again do what is best for them. Sure, a star player or two would be nice, but it comes down to money. The Rockies don't like to spend it. Either way, though, Colorado would like to build a playoff team for 2022, which I don't think is going to happen, but beyond that, they want to build a team for 2022 and beyond. Hopefully, the lockout will be lifted for them to do so. Moving on to Michael Porter Jr. Now, Michael Porter Jr. could be back with the Nuggets soon. He has been cleared for one-on-one work. Now, this is a great step towards his return, and he's going to practice with the Nuggets G League, which is the Grand Rapids Gold. The reason is that the Denver Nuggets, who have 19 games left in the season, they cannot practice every single day, or there's limited practice. So the fact is the Grand Rapids Gold, he has a chance to actually practice and get into basketball shape and play in scrimmages. This is going to help, but what a great step for Michael Porter Jr. He hasn't seen any basketball action since November 6th against the Houston Rockets. Now that Michael Porter Jr. in that game against the Houston Rockets played 7 minutes and only scored 2 points. As we all found out, he needed back surgery. Now, looking at Michael Porter Jr., I was wondering what was wrong with him. He was not shooting the ball or moving that well. He was only averaging 9.9 points per game, which is well below the 19 points he had last year. The back was clearly bugging him, and I couldn't tell from the start of the year, but apparently it was. He had surgery on it, and it looked like we would not see Michael Porter Jr. until next year. The Nuggets thought, we're going to have him next year as well, or at least to start a training camp. Well, this is great progress for him to be able to do one-on-one work and go down to the G League. Even when he goes to the Grand Rapids, this will give him a chance for his body to be ready for games. The Nuggets could use another shooter. Sure, they have Will Barton, Nikola Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and Monte Morris. But the fact of the matter is, MPJ will provide another shooter for the Nuggets. He can cut to the basket for high percentage shots. Even when he's called up from Grand Rapids, the Nuggets would be smart, at least the first few games, to have him come off the bench. The reason why is, who knows what he will look like when he comes back. He may not be the Michael Porter Jr. we know for the first few games. And the Nuggets should restrict his minutes. I'm saying he should come off the bench because he needs to get in shape to play with NBA players. Sure, the G League is great, but you don't have big men like DeAndre Ayton or Giannis Antetokounmpo. I understand practicing and running with Grand Rapids is going to help. The problem is, sure, these are NBA talented guys, but they're not NBA players. He hasn't played. That is, Michael Porter Jr. hasn't played in the NBA for 4 months. Shooting is a great way, but he's been doing that for a while. But again, nobody is guarding him, so it's just open shots. For him to come back off the bench just makes sense when he's able to play. The Nuggets need him, and the defense will have to worry about him. The question becomes, do you double Jokic or do you double Michael Porter Jr.? If you do, that leaves one of them open for high percentage shots. Plus, MPJ is a three-point threat. Even if you double MPJ, he can kick it out to Will Barton or Aaron Gordon or Morris for them to make a basket. The only player left for Denver to be 100% healthy again is point guard Jamal Murray. Murray hasn't been cleared yet, but that could happen soon. When that does, and I know I've said it before, Denver could be a dangerous team, not only in the playoffs, but they could end up winning a round or two because you have to worry about Michael Porter Jr., Jokic, Murray, Gordon, and Morris. This is a team you do not want to face. The Nuggets are going to be a scary team when it comes to the playoffs, especially if they have a healthy Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray. Nobody wants to face them because they are going to be 100%. Now we're going to shift to the NFL. The NFL may change the way overtime is played, especially for the NFL postseason. As it stands now, when NFL games go into overtime, the team that wins the coin toss ends the game with a touchdown, a field goal, and we keep going, meaning the coin toss means a whole lot. Now, if you look at the playoffs, the winner of the coin toss, including this year's playoffs since 2011, their record is 11-2. So basically, 11 times they've won, twice they have lost, or 11 of 13 times that they have won the game. If you divide that, that's 84.6% of the time. Far too many. In this year's postseason, we saw two different endings. Both involved the Kansas City Chiefs against the Buffalo Bills in the divisional round. That game was tied at 36. While watching that game, I knew the winner of the coin toss would probably win the game, and that happened to be the Kansas City Chiefs. They went right down the field and scored a touchdown, winning the game 42-36. Everybody wanted to change then. Why? Well, because we wanted to see what Josh Allen would do with the football. Now, before the AFC Championship game, on my sports blog, which you can read Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com, I compared every level of football to the NFL in terms of overtime rules. Now you can check that out at the podcast at sports-scoop.com to learn more. Anyway, back to the NFL. In the AFC Championship game, Cincinnati rallied from an 18-point hole to take a 24-21 lead. Kansas City tied the game on a 44-yard field goal when time expired. Now the coin toss. Kansas City won it, and I thought, oh, Kansas City's going to win the game with a touchdown. I was wrong. Kansas City threw an interception on the third play of overtime. Now Cincinnati was able to kick a 31-yard field goal to end the game. This was a better way of doing it. Why? Well, each team had a chance to possess the football. Now there could be a change coming to the NFL for overtime. The Buffalo Bills are going to propose a change to overtime. What is it? Well, the concept is pretty easy. They want both teams to have a chance with the football. It makes sense. So the winner of the coin toss, let's say they score a touchdown or a field goal. Well, the other team has a chance to match it. And if they do, then we would have sudden death overtime. So let's say the winner of the coin toss actually throws a pick, fumbles it away, or punts it. Then the other team has a chance to win the game. The reason why, and it would make sense because each team had a chance to possess the football. It should happen. Now let's take baseball, for example. I know they're in a lockout, like I've talked about, but let's say they go into extra innings. You don't see the away team hitting a home run and the game was over, right? Nope. You have the home team have a chance to match whatever the away team does. Now, I'm not sure if it will apply to the regular season, but if it's only postseason, at least it's a change. there are going to be other rule changes that will be proposed. First, the NFL has to have it from the committee. So the competition committee will hear the proposals, and if they like it, then they will send it to the owners. The final vote goes to the owners, and they have to pass it with a majority vote to pass it. The overtime rule seems so simple enough to vote in, but we will have to wait and see if this moves forward. The NFL has been slow to change for the NFL overtime rule. Now, I'm going to finally end this live stream with my last subject, and that is the Denver Broncos, who are looking to upgrade the quarterback position. Now, this could be through the NFL draft, free agent signing, or trading for a veteran. Now, there have been so many rumors with this team as they've been linked to Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Rodgers because of new head coach Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator for Green Bay the past 3 years. Rodgers knows his system. The thing is, though, if I'm the Denver Broncos, I wouldn't want Rodgers. Why? He's 38 years old. Sure, he can still play at a high level, and he showed that last year, passing for 4,115 yards, 37 touchdowns, and an impressively low 4 interceptions. Now, if you look at those stats, that tells me he would help the Broncos. The thing is, though, is his age. He's 38 years old, and he may only play for 1 or 2 years and then retire. There'd be no point in getting him as a veteran since it wouldn't be that long. The sense, though, that I'm getting is he's going to stay in Green Bay. They're going to do whatever it takes to keep him happy to play the rest of his days in Green Bay. For Rodgers, though, it is up to him. I feel he wants to stay in Green Bay to win a Super Bowl ring. There's no guarantee he will do that in Denver. Although Denver has a pretty good wide receiver core with Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, a tight end in Noah Fant, and also a running back in Javonte Williams, who can run the football and can also catch passes out of the backfield. The Broncos are still rebuilding, and I don't think Rodgers wants to be part of a rebuild. Then you have Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson hasn't come out to say he wants to leave, and Seattle says, oh, we're going to keep him. I don't know if that's the case. Russell Wilson wants an offensive line to protect him, and last year he was sacked 33 times, which isn't bad. Wilson could want out of Denver, and Denver could be a landing spot. He's a guy who is a running quarterback who can run around in the pocket, and that will help his receivers be open. Of course, for Rodgers and Wilson, it would be a trade. The thing is, though, the Broncos have plenty of draft picks to trade this year. They have 10 draft picks. They have a first, a second, 2 through third round selections. So you have 2 in the third round, a fourth, 2 fifth, and 2 sevenths. So again, here are the draft picks for the Denver Broncos. A first, a second, 2 third rounds, a fourth, 2 fifths, and 2 sevenths. So it could work. Let's just say Denver doesn't try to trade for them. What are their options besides Drew Lock? Because Drew Lock is the only quarterback on the roster. They could re-sign Teddy Bridgewater. He is a free agent quarterback. I mean, he wasn't bad for the Broncos. He passed for 3,052 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 7 picks. Would Denver really want to bring Bridgewater back to challenge Drew Lock again? We saw how that ended in last year's preseason. Teddy Bridgewater beat out Drew Lock. Of course, that was with a different coaching staff. The truth is, this is a whole new coaching staff. They haven't worked with Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe this time the tables turn and Drew Lock beats out Teddy Bridgewater. Of course, that is if Denver re-signs Teddy Bridgewater. Denver could try and sign free agent quarterback Marcus Mariota. Why not? He can do the same things that Bridgewater and Russell Wilson can, meaning he can run with the football and he's a pocket passer. Marcus Mariota agreed to a 1-year, $3.5 million contract last year with the Las Vegas Raiders. That is pretty darn low for a quarterback. Now, Denver could look at another free agent quarterback, Mitch or Michal Trubisky, depending on what he wants to be called, because I'm not even sure. Sometimes he's Mitch, sometimes he's Mitchell. But anyway, Trubisky has been a starter in the NFL before, spending 2017 to 2020 with the Chicago Bears. Last year, he was the backup to Josh Allen. Trubisky's overall record, and it's not actually that bad as a starting quarterback. He is 29-21. Now, Chicago earned a playoff spot in 2018 and 2020. I understand they didn't get out of the wild card round, but at least Mitch Trubisky got them there. His overall stats aren't bad either. Trubisky has a total of 10,652 passing yards and 64 touchdowns. There are times where he will protect the he will protect the football, throwing the football, but the problem is he does take chances. He's been picked off 38 times. Now, is that an upgrade over Drew Lock? I'm not entirely sure. Now, the Broncos may take a chance on Trubisky. They need a veteran to push Drew Lock during training camp to earn the starting role. Trubisky can be that guy. Denver should at least think about it. We know free agency starts in the NFL on March 16th. General Manager George Paton will do what is best for the team moving forward. I think you do place a call on Mitchell Trubisky. Say, hey, do you want to play for the Denver Broncos? See what his interest level is. He can say yes, he can say no. But if he is interested, then you can have a contract offer to him. Then he can accept it or reject it. The thing is, though, Mitchell Trubisky is at least a veteran who may push Drew Lock for the starting role. And of course, if he doesn't get it, then at least Drew Lock beats him out and Mitchell Trubisky can be the backup quarterback, and he has that experience. Either way, though, the Denver Broncos should go after a veteran like Mitch Trubisky or Marcus Mariota if they're unable to trade for Russell Wilson. The offseason will tell us more about what George Paton wants to do to improve this football team. Now, if you look at it, even if you bring in a Russell Wilson, I don't think he's better than Derek Carr, a Patrick Mahomes. He might be better than Justin Herbert, but would he really want to be the third best quarterback in the division? I'm not sure. You already know that Kansas City is a threat to make the playoffs. The Raiders have already shown that, as well as the Chargers. The LA Chargers were very close to making a playoff run. Would adding a Russell Wilson help the Broncos make the playoffs? I'm not sure about that. He's a great quarterback, but again, you still have to beat out Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, Justin Herbert in Los Angeles, as well as Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. But the thing is what would you do if you didn't get a veteran quarterback? Well, you could look at the NFL draft, but I'm not sure there's a guy I really want there. There are guys, but you have to develop these quarterbacks. And the Broncos haven't done that. And I'm not sure you're going to take another guy and say, hey, let's have Drew Lock and you try to compete for the starting role, because actually Drew Lock would actually win that. So the Broncos do have tough decisions going on, but they do have to upgrade the quarterback position, whether that is, like I said, through the NFL draft, through free agency, or through a trade. Of course, the trades are Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or Kirk Cousins. The only reason why I say Kirk Cousins is because of general manager George Paton's. He was in the Vikings organization. Would he want to take a chance to say, hey, let's go out and get a Kirk Cousins? George Paton will do what is best, and he will call these organizations to say, hey, what is the asking price? But the offseason will tell us more, because the Broncos want to be a playoff team for the first time since winning Super Bowl 50. But we will wait and see what happens. I'm Jordan Long. This has been Under Review. Follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1 and read my blog that I write Mondays through Fridays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. This has been a Sideline Sports production.